I read 10 books from Marvel and DC, 5 from Marvel, 5 from DC. A rare week when I read just as many Marvel books as DC. And let me tell you, what I liked better surprised me. Howdy, howdy, American Texan here. And on this channel, we like to talk about the stories of comic books that are coming out from the big two, the indies and the crowdfunders. And in this video, we're reviewing the week's releases of December 10th from Marvel and DC. I've got 5 books from Marvel, 2 from Ultimate. Those 2 books were $12, y'all. And then I've got 5 books from DC, 1 from the Absolute Universe, 1 from DC KO tie-in. There was a Wonder Woman versus Lobo I did not add to my pull list. My comic shop sold out by the time I went to visit them at 1 o'clock on Wednesday. They were already sold out. But after seeing the reviews, I am kind of glad I didn't get it, although there is a little interlude that's kind of integral to the KO story. The actual Wonder Woman versus Lobo stuff I actually heard was not that good, so I don't know if I'm going to actually go onto my comic shop online. We'll see if the rest of them, the rest of the fight books are interesting. If that's the only one I need to collect to finish the full run, I'll probably get it. But if not, I might not miss it so much. However, looking at the books that I did read, I was a little surprised about which one came out ahead for me. So let's go over to the table and let's take a look at the comic books. I'm going to open up the insides, look at some of the interior, but try to avoid spoilers. So if you haven't read the books, don't worry, this is not a full-on review of spoilers. This is just talking about some of the things that intrigued me. However, if you do want to talk about spoilers after you like and subscribe, comment down below and let's nerd out together. Just put a little spoiler alert at the front line so that way it doesn't spoil it where everyone can see it. And then let's nerd out. I love talking about comic books, and the more, the merrier, I think. So let's go to the table and let's talk about some books. All right, so let's take a look at some comics, starting with Marvel. I actually read more Marvel books this week than DC. Actually, it might have been the same. I actually read the same amount, I'm not counting the facsimile here, that I had before. So I actually read the same amount of Marvel books as I did DC, which is a rarity these days. But Marvel had some books that came out that I was interested in, starting with Ultimate Spider-Man, number 23. This is the penultimate issue, so to speak, and actually, I guess literally. And this one, it still kind of suffers from, not even so much Hickman storytelling, but really just Marvel getting in the way. We had a big time jump, and all of a sudden we've got Superior Spider-Man, we've got more development with Kingpin. May obviously has some kind of relation with Dr. Octopus, like she's kind of like his angel on his shoulder. This would have been such a better story if Marvel hadn't handicapped Hickman and said, hey, wrap it up, because after 24 issues, you're done. So all this stuff, like with the paper here, like now all of a sudden the article was written and ready to publish. This really just, Marvel kneecapped possibly one of the best stories that they had in the last decade. And it's just, I'm going to be honest, it's shameful. It's just absolutely shameful that this is one of the best things that they've ever published in the last decade. And they said, nah, you're going to cut it off. It's very disheartening, especially as a Hickman fan, that they could take something and just say, no, it's done. Another thing that makes it so tough to read now is the story has to wrap up so fast at a breakneck pace. The story suffers because of it. So I don't want to say shame on you, Marvel, but very disappointing. And Ultimate Wolverine number 12 is a little bit better, I think, because they had 12 issues that they knew they wanted to work within. And the story here does wrap up. It is a little bit of a loose wrap up here. But man, the action in this, they were writing up into a giant climactic battle where Wolverine goes back, so to speak, to his home and has to bring some comeuppance with him. And this book is just absolutely gorgeously written. And it's exactly like every other issue that I enjoy. The thing that really just makes me really enjoy this series is that every issue is an action set piece. And this one, as the wrap up, kind of has 3 action set pieces. So it is gorgeous. It is really cool. It is savage. It is absolutely fantastic. I hate to say that I liked Ultimate Wolverine more than Ultimate Spider-Man, and that's, for me, that should not be the case, I think. So issue 12 did wrap up pretty nicely. Now they are extending it. Now they're doing the opposite, right? They told Hickman, nah, wrap it up sooner than you want. And then I guess they told Condon, hey, you need to extend it to 16. And so it's getting extended, and I think they're doing kind of a tie-in thing. I think this is going to be my last issue here. At $6, these 2 issues right here were $12. That's a lot of money for books that are obviously not on the priority list for Marvel and that are just kind of getting handicapped by Marvel. So, That's just way too much. I mean, that's almost 1.5 times other, or that is 1.5 times other books. So this will be the last Ultimate Wolverine you'll see me talk about. This will be the second to last Ultimate Spider-Man. I will wrap it up at 24, but yeah, just kind of a fizzle ending on this one. Maybe the trades will be good. Maybe if they reboot it, it can make these more worthwhile. But right now, especially because I'm not getting Endgame, because I'm not a fan of how Dennis Camp writes the Ultimate stuff. We're getting close to the end of my Ultimate run, and it went out with a fizzle instead of a bang, unfortunately. But let's get into something good here. Marvel Knights, the Punisher. I was a little soft on this one because we're not really getting Punisher. We're getting like mind controlled Punisher. But in this one, he breaks the mind control. Panosian is absolutely hitting his stride with the Punisher. And man, this is just wild. So, we do start with a little bit of mind control Punisher here, but he does break free of his mind control here. And there is a little bit of a shocking thing that he does that I'm like, I don't know if Frank would do that. But, it is the story being told. And I trust Palmiotti more than other writers when they would have Frank do something that I don't think Frank would do. So I'm interested. My curiosity is still piqued here. It's still very interesting. But man, the art in this is gorgeous. It's that almost noir style artistry here with the Punisher line. It takes a lot of place in Mexico, so we get those nice Mexico warm tones. Really, really interesting. So I'm actually enjoying this one. I enjoyed this issue more than most. So now I'm looking forward to the Punisher. Slight spoiler, right? He does break his mind control. I am looking forward to seeing what happens next. Two banger books. I absolutely love these books. Infernal Hulk #2. I'm not a huge monster gory guy, but man, this Nick Klein art is absolutely gorgeous. So we are getting beautiful paneling, almost like Ultra Mega, if that team was to do the Hulk. And I can see why some people are turned off because this really isn't a Hulk story, so to speak. It's more of kind of the same as Marvel Knights Punisher. Like we're just seeing a mind control Hulk, even though it's not really a mind control Hulk. It's like the Hulk was separated from Banner and now the Hulk is being controlled by a monster. But the monster is calling more monsters, and then we just get these giant kaiju fights, or at least this giant kaiju fight in the ocean here with Namor. And it's just super cool. I love the way they did the lettering for the monster to show it's like really bigger than life, and it is just absolutely gorgeous. And then you got to see how Hulk gets out of this giant monster, right? Wow, just really, really cool. And I understand why this isn't like your typical Hulk story and why some people wouldn't like it. To me, it's almost like Absolute Hulk, like what DC would do for Absolute books. This is what it's doing for Hulk, and I'm super enjoying that. Also, very much enjoying in my Marvel pick of the week, Spider-Man and Wolverine #8. 2 issues left. And look at this. This is a $4 book. I enjoyed it like 10 times more than Ultimate Spider-Man. That Hickman tax, sometimes you don't want to pay it. But we get a little bit of a backstory here, and then we get a lot of character development in this one. Now, there is a fight here that Spider-Man and Wolverine lose to Arachnix, which in this alternate universe is basically Peter Logan getting bit by a radioactive spider. So he has spider powers, a little bit kind of venomous as well, the way that his body is actually made of webs. And man, it is super cool. So they get out of that first fight. I won't spoil the first fight. We get a lot of great character development here. And actually, it started getting a little bit of a lull. But then Spider Sense goes off, and I'm just going to show real quick. Boom, we get this giant splash page here. And the last act is just all insane battles. This has been such a delight. I highly, highly recommend Spider-Man and Wolverine. And I'm not a huge reader of either Spider-Man or Wolverine, but this one with the art just takes it over to the next level. Absolute enjoyment. Pick of the week here for Marvel. Going on to DC, I read 5 DC books and I enjoyed most of them. One of them I'm a little cold on, so I'm going to remove it from my pool. But the story of the week everyone's talking about, Absolute Joker. And this was a good book. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to make stuff up here and be salacious for salacious sake. This was a good book. But at the end of the day, it was a one-shot. It was telling the basic origin of the Joker. And I like the way that they tell it because this universe is Alfred telling Batman about what he knows about the Joker. You get a story, and then Batman says, no, tell it to me straight. And so you get the story retold with a little bit of mythology added to it. You can see here the Joker face is changing. And then you get a little bit of a cheesy line. Batman's like, no, tell me how it really is. And so we get the story again, and the Joker just gets more and more manipulative, more and more in control of history, so to speak. He's an absolute scary dude. And then you also get a little bit of a hint that maybe this Joker is more like main universe Batman, or Bruce Wayne, I should say, than we thought. Overall, I thought it was a good issue. However, I would have liked to see all of this revelation about the Joker take place over an arc, even a 3-issue arc. Would have been cool, like maybe while they're doing some investigations or some detective work, or maybe hunting down one of his minions. To have it all in one issue felt a little bit like a lore dump, almost felt like a issue of the new history of DC. It almost played out that way because it really is just telling a history lesson here. And I think the Absolute Joker, the idea is great. The way they actually revealed his face here on the cover was fantastic. But at the end of the day, it was just one issue to tell one story, one backstory. And that's it. We're done. We're moving on. And I don't know. I feel like with the Joker, we could have let this cook a little bit more. And this goes to show what a big issue with the Ultimate Universe and the Absolute Universe is they are on like hyper rails. They are going hyper fast, just introducing characters, what makes them different, and then they're going on to the next one. Same thing with Batman, Absolute Batman, and his friends turning into his rogues gallery, or in the Absolute world, it's going to be his friends gallery, I guess. And so they're just like at breakneck pace, and it's like, where can these stories go? I mean, you can get 40 or 50 issues, but where are we going to go after that? I think they just want to keep everything so quick, so fast, and very shocking. Eventually, you're going to have to go back and try to expand these stories, and I just don't know how they're going to do that. But, that's why they get paid money to figure that out. Now, I love this book, Aquaman versus Hawkman. Jeremy Adams does it. Again, he does the best tie-ins, and I enjoyed this one. I know a lot of people are kind of cool on it, which I was surprised. I like this. Maybe because I'm actually reading Aquaman, maybe because I don't know a lot about Hawkman and his story. I know there's a lot of Hawkman fans that didn't like this issue, but man, I super enjoyed this one. Aquaman is savage in this one, and it shows why he is the king of Atlantis. And Hawkman, put up a fight. I can't put it into words how much I enjoyed this one and how just much of an Aquaman fan Jeremy Adams has made me to be. We also get a bit of movement on the conspiracy that is Adriana, Aquaman's daughter from the future. She maybe is a little more manipulative, like she's doing something that is pushing Arthur into the dark side, so to speak. So maybe she's working for Darkseid. Hey, there you go, wordplay. But man, this was so cool. Aquaman was just savage, and he just seems unstoppable in this one. I won't tell you the spoiler in case you haven't read it, but man, he puts up quite a fight against Hawkman. It is absolutely gorgeous. Art in here by Timms, and man, I really, really enjoyed this issue. I thought this issue was fantastic. All right, then going into Action Comics number 1093. This one's a little bit more of a talkative story, and I actually still quite enjoyed it. And it's got a little bit of adult talk in here, a couple of things that, might keep us up at night as far as when we get to the notice of foreclosure thing. Not that people stop paying their bills, but the bank maybe took advantage of a loophole or a bad actor. So that actually kind of hit me on the emotional side here. Art continues to be great of everything that we've come to expect with Action Comics. It did get a little talkative, but the meat of the conversation, I actually kind of enjoyed it. So it kept me engaged, even though it was a more talky issue. Then we get a really great life lesson here where Clark kind of thinks of a shortcut so they can beat the system that is trying to beat them down. And John Kent says, hey, no, we're not going to take a shortcut. We're going to figure this out the right way. Your superpowers are not here to be self-serving. And I am loving all of those coming of age lessons that Superboy Clark has to learn. I mean, this is a great series here. I know a lot of people were cold on it. I remember listening to, I can't remember who it was, one of the podcasters. I was like, we're going back to Superboy. We're telling Superboy stories. Why are we doing this? This is why I don't judge something based on why are we doing this or nobody asked for this, because some of the most fun, enjoyable stories can come from stories like this. We didn't need another Superboy. I don't know of anyone that was asking for more Superboy stories, but this little mini arc here, or series, whatever you want to call it, from Mark Waid is a lot of fun to read. So I'm super enjoying that. I did say we got Green Lantern Corps number 11. I started pulling Green Lantern Corps for the tie-ins with the main Green Lantern series by Adams. Now Adams is off. We obviously got the new class here, as it says. I wanted to like it, but it's just not resonating with me. When I read the story, I thought, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. And I do like this villain. I like this idea of the villain. He lived on a water planet. The Green Lanterns brought in asylum seekers or people that were running away or something like that from another planet. and they ended up trashing the water planet. And I don't think the Green Lanterns realized that the water planet was inhabited by water people. You don't really see like humanoids here like you do with this guy. So he is the last survivor, and he wants vengeance against the Green Lanterns. And I know some people don't like the villains with a understandable reason to want to go against the bad guys and be villainous, but I don't mind that at all. And I think that's a very interesting thing. You know, like the Green Lanterns did you wrong. So now you want to do wrong to the Green Lanterns. You know, it's that whole two wrongs don't make a right thing. The art is fantastic. Now we do have a couple artists on this one. Will Conrad, French, Carlo Magno, if it's Italian there. I think whoever's drawing this part, I want to say it's Will Conrad. I don't know too much about Will Conrad, but I think he did some Rippaverse stuff, and this kind of looks Rippaverse-esque versus some of the other stuff like this. It's a little bit more digital, a little bit more modern art. So I'm wondering if that's the name that I don't recognize, but I could be wrong, could be opposite. But I'm definitely liking the this stuff a lot more as far as the art. But some of the storytelling here, especially with the new stuff, the new gang, I kind of like the Green Lantern Academy stuff, but it's just not in here enough to really keep me reading. I think this character, Aya, is a very interesting character, but there's just not enough here for me to want to pull it every week. Even though it is a $4 book, I believe, yeah, it's a $4 book. I think I'll wait for the trade. And I also don't know too much, like Razor and Aya have a thing. I just don't know too much about their history. I think it could be a good story in trade, but right now for singles, it's just not hitting me. So I'm going to remove this from my pool. Nothing against Morgan Hampton or the artist team. You know, again, with just so many books to read, I think I want to stay focused on the other ones. So I'm going to remove that from the pool. Philip Kennedy Johnson, my man, got Batman and Robin number 28, and this one was another banger. I love the Quiet Man. In fact, I'm even thinking like if they do a Quiet Man statue, I might have to get me one, go right here next to Junkyard Joe. He's a pretty cool little villain here. And again, he's got that, you know, villain with a justifiable chip on his shoulder. We find out, or we get confirmation, or just reminded that the ventriloquist killed his son. And so now he's basically John Wicking his way back to the ventriloquist, but the ventriloquist has been reformed. And it goes back to that, you know, is reformation of a criminal enough? Because with the things that he did, especially when it comes to murder or killing, that sticks with people for a long time. And I think that's a fantastic story, exactly better of a reformation story than we're getting in mainline Batman, which I'm also removing from my pool because that's just not hitting me in the way they're telling it. But the way that PKJ is telling it here is really cool. I'm really enjoying the, not the deplorables. What do they call them? They call the ragtag group of kids here. What's their names? Irregulars. There we go. The Irregulars. I'm enjoying their story there too. They're really bringing out some of the great things about Robin that are a lot of fun to watch. And Robin gets a little bit of a interesting shine here. I really enjoyed this one. You get a little ventriloquist cover. So I think actually for my pick of the week, DC though, is going to be Aquaman versus Hawkman. Or actually, I guess it's Aquaman number 12. So my two picks of the week, Aquaman number 12 and Spider-Man and Wolverine. So there you have it. My talk books of the week were Aquaman number 12 and Spider-Man and Wolverine. This one definitely takes the cake. However, after talking about the books, I really actually liked Ultimate Wolverine, I think a little bit more after reflecting back on it. Unfortunately, though, I don't want to keep reading it because I feel like it's just going to be more forced stories from Marvel Editorial. Marvel Editorial is the #1 villain in the Marvel Universe. Can I get an amen? Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, like the video, subscribe for more comic content. Appreciate your time and attention. It means the world to me. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Adios.